a record-breaking crowd, 4,047 registered attendees, the largest convention in the history of the National Association of Black Journalists. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. Right now, we'll talk about the fact that just as concluded, the presidential forum, 4 presidential candidates showed up here to speak to NABJ. Senator Cory Booker, Senator Bernie Sanders, South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, as well as former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld. They understood the importance of this audience. The folks who are journalists, who are columnists, it was live streamed right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, also on the NABJ platforms. And so let's talk about it right now with Mark Thompson, host of Make It Plain. Mark, step on right in here. First and foremost, before we talk about who actually showed up, was it surprising to you NABJ made the offer to all candidates for this forum, including Donald Trump, and only these 4 showed up?
Well, I will admit it's probably a tough weekend. A lot of people are in Iowa for the state fair, and some people will probably blame the weather. A lot of flight cancellations, but 4,000 people still made it here somehow in spite of it. So you would have thought more had come. But honestly, Roland, and I just interviewed Brandon Gassaway, the National Press Secretary for the DNC, for my show in the morning. And Brandon said something as he was talking. You know how you interview someone, you may not necessarily ask them a question, but it gives you an idea. If it's important enough for DNC leadership to be at the NABJ, maybe it's also important enough that the DNC make a decision to allow and organize a debate, not just with white media corporations, but with black media. So why can't there be a full-fledged presidential debate on your platform? Because this is a constituency, and as Cory Booker and other candidates said, it's our constituency, black electorate, black supporters of black media, who are being targeted by the right wing for voter suppression and being targeted by Russia. So this is the audience that most needs to be spoken to. So no problem, you do CNN, MSNBC, and they have ABC, they have black journalists, and there's some of them here. But there ought to be something specifically for black-owned press institutions, print and broadcast.
Well, the problem you have, though, is that when it comes to those black institutions, they aren't stepping up. I often talk about it. You have 8 networks that target black folks. Not a single one of them, 1,344 hours each of programming each week, not a single one of them has a news show. The reality is they want to focus on entertainment. We had the course town hall with CNN in 2016. I didn't want to do it with CNN. Let me be clear. I didn't want to do it. I said we don't need to do it with CNN. We can do it ourselves. And so I think that should happen. And there should be, yes, a specific forum, debate, whatever you have, where black folks are asking questions. You've had two rounds of debates so far. Not a single black woman as a moderator. There are questions that we have that are far different than mainstream media, and that is the reality. I think here it was very interesting listening to Pete Buttigieg say to this audience, and we, of course, live streaming it, so folks, you can go to our YouTube channel, actually watch it. He said it's on white folks to deal with systemic racism in America.
He did. Listen, Mayor Pete, I'll be very honest with you. He's hitting all the right words, tone, and language when it comes to white supremacy. Because white folks do have to get involved in resisting white supremacy and making that noise. And I think he's made quite an impression. Obviously, that's not translated yet in the polls, black or white for that matter, and he's very much a long shot. But, I think the situation in his community has awakened him, and some of the heat he's got from that black community about the firing of that chief, this current police shooting. So he's saying all the right things. Some people have even called him, when I was in Chicago, Reverend Jackson, his convention, they would call him the gay Obama. And that may be true. But when he said that, that's not something you hear from the average white candidate even every day. So he obviously is surrounded by people. A lot of African Americans are high up in these campaigns. A couple I know working in his campaign, including Nina Smith. So he's getting all the right information and being prepared.
What I also find interesting is that the El Paso shooting, the language of Trump, has forced mainstream media to deal with this issue of white nationalism and white supremacy. And it's nothing. I'm not criticizing Eddie Glaude, but all people talk about, oh my God, this video that he did. I'm like, yo, we've been saying that for a decade. y'all ain't been listening.
Yeah.
And Eddie nailed it, but it's like if they had been listening for the last decade, they wouldn't have been late to the party.
No, and if they had been listening or even reading, we know that there's a lot of black print media here through columnists and journalists. That's what the black press does and has always done. So we are clear. I think people are shocked when it's on a major network, on a major network or MSNB or something like that. But all of us in black media have been saying that.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
I know he's crossing the camera right now. Stand over here. Yes, we are live. Craig Melvin, of course, he was one of the 3 moderators. Normally, when folks doing TV, they're not shouting, but it don't matter because it's my damn show and I own it. No, come back, Mark. So Craig, of course, is one of the folks who was asking questions.
This is classic Roland Martin. This is beautiful.
No, we in Miami is in NABJ.
Beautiful. My goodness.
So you were one of the 3 moderators. Just sort of turn this way, Craig. You know television. Turn this way. Just your impression of the 4 candidates who spoke at NABJ finished just a few moments ago.
I think that everyone in the room probably learned something they did not know about at least one of the candidates. I think anytime in a setting like that, it's difficult to get candidates off their talking points. It's difficult to get them to share something other than their stump speech. But I think we got some of that in there. But it's, I'm a fan of any opportunity to have someone who's running for the highest office in the land, any opportunity to be able to sit down and ask them questions, allow them to answer those questions without interrupting them or cutting them off. And so, I thought that was good. What did you think?
Oh, well, here's the deal. I've made it clear. I'm not really paying any attention until October 1st. I need 10 people to drop out because there's too many damn people. That's first. I was impressed in terms of with Booker and Buttigieg. Now, I'll go ahead and throw in Weld how, and I'm not dissing Sanders, but how with the El Paso shooting, with the attack by Trump on the squad, how these candidates are going full bore and forcing a discussion on white nationalism, which black journalists I was just telling Mark, we've been dealing with this, talking about this for 10 years, and now our white colleagues all of a sudden are like, oh my God, it's real. And we're like, yeah.
But the question is, are we talking about it 3 months from now? Are we talking about it, are we talking about 3 weeks from now? Is this one of those conversations that we frequently have in this country where we talk about it fairly intensely for a few days and then all of a sudden 3 weeks from now it's like, hey, do you remember? That's the dilemma.
Here's the deal. I think it will be talking about it because guess what? Trump is going to continue. The reality is he's going to continue with his tweets, continue with his attacks. And what is happening is, and we're already seeing it in the data, it is causing white suburban voters major angst. You take Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross announcing he's having this fundraiser for Donald Trump in the Hamptons. He owns SoulCycle. He owns Equinox. He owns the Dolphins. One of his own players blast him. He comes out with a statement essentially saying, we disagree on a whole lot of stuff, but basically I'm supporting him because of his tax policy. So essentially what you're saying is, I don't like the racism, but I love the taxes. And so it's forcing other people to say, you got to pick and choose. And I think that's where it's going to continue, and I don't think it's going to go away.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Craig Melvin, good job up there.
Appreciate you, brother.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem. And I'll drop a seersucker in the mail for you so you can wear it. So you can wear it on the Today Show. Mark, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks a bunch. Tell everybody how they can listen to your show.
MakeItPlain.com. You can go there, subscribe to the Live Daily Show, and there's also a podcast available wherever you get your podcast from.
All right, baby, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.